You're on.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Preston, and I am here with Tyler Clark. Tyler has been my student at Elizabeth's Art Studio for the better part of 3 years. I find Tyler just such a wonderful student to work with. His art skills have developed tremendously. He's able to focus. He's able to, sometimes in the very beginning, he used to start projects and he wouldn't finish them, but he was never told that he needed to throw it away. Instead, we kept every single piece of paper that he ever did because we knew that in the fullness of time, Tyler would be able to draw beautifully, as you can see him doing it right now. You might ask yourself, why would I want to look at this YouTube? What could Elizabeth share with me? Well, actually, I am a retired teacher. I've been the owner and operator of Elizabeth's Art Studio for 22 years. I am a facilitator for Pomona Valley Hospital in both their Cancer Center and their Stead Heart Center. And I have a private practice as well, where I use a very unusual form of expressive arts therapy called creative journaling. Creative journaling, expressive arts. I myself have a master's in theories of learning and behavior, and my undergraduate is in applied behavioral science. And you might say, well, what other experience have you had? Well, my son has given me permission to talk about the fact that he, as a young person, at a time when people didn't know anything about ADD or ADHD, I was told by a teacher that he was probably not going to meet my expectations. And at one point in time, as he was graduating high school, I was told that he would make a very good elevator operator, but that he had no other skills. And I, as a mother, was brokenhearted because I knew he was very, very bright. And as it turned out, when he went into the armed forces, he took a test, and in fact, they had been wrong. He qualified for West Point. So the reason I'm here is because I want all parents who feel that for whatever reason their children's brains just don't work like other kids' brains do. I want us to all have hope. And one of the reasons I want us to have hope is because, as a parent, I don't ever remember signing on to be my child's advocate. Actually, I was very shy, and I was very intimidated by school districts. I was very intimidated in a lot of ways, and so consequently, I went to my first IEP meeting, and I was handed a bunch of papers and told, here, sign this. And I did, because I didn't know. Well, ultimately, over the years, I had administrators tell me that they felt that I just didn't understand their side of the street. And so what I did is I went back to school and I got a master's degree in theories of learning and behavior so that I could understand both sides of the street. I then went on to teach for 20 years, and I was one of those teachers who children were mainstreamed into. And the reason that happened is because I understood that not all children's brains work the same way. And I wanted children who, like my son, perhaps thought out of the box to have an opportunity at school. And so consequently, one of the things that happened later on was I was trained in a process called creative journaling. Creative journaling was developed by Lucia Capacchione. She is a world-famous art therapist, and she's written 17 books, 2 of which I have here to show you. I don't sell these books, but you can go on Lucia's website and you can buy the Creative Journal for Children, a guide to parents and teachers. And in this book, you are going to find all kinds of exercises that will help you relate to your child and relate to the struggles and stressors that they're experiencing. And then we also have another book that I work with sometimes, which is called Creative Journal for Teens. Now, Tyler is almost a teen, and consequently, with the creative journaling process, we usually use it with children who are 8 years old and above, but we also have other processes that we can work with younger people. But I'd like to exhibit to you how the creative journaling process works. Tyler, can I put this over here for a moment? As you can see, Tyler has wonderful focus ability. I never touch children's work. This is totally Tyler's work. He loves to do Tyler's Tigers, and we love to have him do them. Tyler, what I want people to understand is that sometimes school is a very stressful place. Would you agree that? And sometimes we, as parents, really love our children, and it's hard for us to see our children being stressed out. And sometimes it's even true that children have what is called school-related depression. Now, I know that that isn't one of the things that you experience, and one of the reasons you don't is because your parents bring you to art class. You also play sports. What sports do you play?
Baseball and football.
Yeah, and you're very good at both of them, aren't you? Okay, and so exercise is a very important component for children whose brains work a little bit different than others. It's always important for children to be able to exercise, eat well. Parents need to pay attention to nutritional aspects. But also, I want to give you another tool. And this tool is called Creative Journaling. And so, Tyler, what I'm going to ask you to do is, we've got 3 markers here. These are just regular markers. And what I'm wanting you to do is I want you to choose one of the markers that kind of makes it feel like you feel when you're kind of angry. Which marker would that be?
Red.
Red. Okay. So what I'm going to want you to do now is I want you on this piece of paper to try to think of a time recently when you were upset. You didn't know what the name of your upset was. You didn't know what caused you, but you knew that when you came home, you were upset. And it wouldn't be unusual for somebody who's upset to maybe answer back at mom if she says, please do your homework. Or maybe it wouldn't be unusual to kind of, tease your little sister or tease your little brother, because then you'd feel better, wouldn't you? But how would they feel? Sad. That's right. So we want to find a safe way for you to be able to come home feeling upset because something may have happened at school. And we want to teach you a safe way to take those feelings. So what I'd like for you to do is I want you to remember what it was like when you were upset. And instead of using the hand you usually use when you're in school, that's called your dominant hand, I want you to put the marker in your other hand, okay? And I want you to scribble all over this piece of paper. And would you say right now that your feeling upset is as high as a 10 or an 8 or a 7? Where would you say it is?
7.
About a 7? Okay, so I want you to scribble thinking about how upset you were. And just keep on scribbling as long as you want to. And if you feel like you've filled up that piece of paper, moms and dads, paper really is not a big deal. It's much safer and nicer to be able to use up a whole bunch of paper. So use as much paper as you want to. Sometimes I recommend that people get a great big pad of paper, a newsprint pad, and just scribble all over it. And this is a very good activity for adults as well as children. But we're here to show tools that will help Tyler manage his feelings of being upset. Do you feel like you need another one? Or is that one okay? Okay. Now, I'm going to put this over here, Tyler, and what I'm going to want you to do is a very funny thing. I'm going to ask you to take another one of the markers, and I'm going to want you to put that one down and pretend that this scribble, by the way, what do you want to call this scribble? What do you think it is?
Frustration.
Okay, can you put frustration down? Now, Tyler might not know how to spell the word frustration because sometimes when we're angry, we can't even think about how to spell. So if he just put down FRUS, that would be sufficient. All he's trying to do is get his emotions safely out onto paper. He did know how to spell it. Anyway, all right. So now what I want you to do is with this is your dominant hand, the hand that you use at school. I want you to write a question to frustration. And I want you to write, "Dear frustration, who or what are you?" Now, what I want you to do is I want you to pretend that this image can talk back to you. What do you think that image would say? I want you to use the other hand. This is based in Jungian therapy, and it is called the other hand because what we want to do is we want to get into the habit of using both hands. We want to use the right hand and the left hand, or the dominant and non-dominant hand.
Okay.
And so what I want you to do is, if this image could talk to you, what would it say?
It's hard.
I am frustrated. Is it normal to be frustrated? No.
Yes.
Not really.
Sorta.
But it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you know what I often do, Tyler, is sometimes I will draw a faucet. And I show the faucet like this. And I show feelings coming out. Why? Because feelings just are. And what we want to do is we want to find a safe way for you to be able to manage your feelings and feel good about yourself. And that's what creative journaling is able to do. Whether you are a younger person, whether you are a teenager, whether you are a parent trying to help your child, these are all tools that are just wonderful. As we begin to, thank you, Tyler. How do you feel now? Do you feel like you're still at a 7?
No.
No? Where would you think you are, maybe? Take a deep breath and kind of feel your body. What do you think?
Maybe a 3.
Maybe a 3. Wonderful. And that's exactly what I wanted it to do, is I simply wanted you to be able to discharge your feelings out onto the paper and feel good about yourself. Okay? You can go ahead and draw because I had one last thing that I wanted to explain to parents. As an educator, over the years, I came to realize that as a parent, I was very intimidated about how to help my child, how to give my child tools, how to address the school. And of course, you know the old expression about it's much easier to, to get attention when you're using honey instead of vinegar. I had to learn the hard way that what I needed to do is get rid of my anger and try to see what the administrators were trying to tell me about my children. but also I became informed. And that's what I want you to know, is that there are options for you as a parent. One of the options is you can go to an administrator and you can ask for anonymity. If you find that your child is not getting along with a particular teacher and you're afraid of retaliation, one of the things you can do is go to the administrator of the school and say, please, will you, number one, my child is facing school-related depression. He or she is not the happy little child that I have known them to be in the past, and it concerns me deeply. And so I would like for you to go into the classroom, and I would like for you to observe how my child is being worked with. If we find that my child is struggling deeply, it's possible for us to get a diagnosis. It's possible to get a doctor's note. There are options that we as parents are able to pursue. One thing we can do is we can ask for a program specialist to come and examine what's being taught to my child and the process, the way that my child is being taught. Are they taught in their learning style? One of the things about Tyler is he's very kinesthetic. He feels things. And so consequently, sometimes when he comes to the art studio, he likes to touch things. And he likes to maybe use clay, or we have other tools and ways to reach him on his learning style. And so another thing that we can do is we can say, I want my child to be observed. I'm concerned about school-related depression. I would like for us to consider perhaps moving my child to a different teacher. You might say, well, wait a minute though, I already started the school year with this teacher. Yes, but the Christmas break or the holiday break is coming up. And sometimes it's good to use that break to get to start over. That's a very brave thing for a parent to suggest, because it might mean changes in relationships of some of the children in the classroom. But we have to weigh out what is the best decision for my child. If my child is in a hostile environment, and kids know when they're in a hostile environment, then switching to another teacher is often an option. Also, we can contact a special ed director and find out what other avenues of training are available. And so one of the things that I would really like to suggest, of course it would be wonderful if you could have a one-on-one RSP aid for your teacher, for your child. Well, that costs money, but the question is, how much is my child thriving? Maybe I need to go to extraordinary lengths. Maybe I need to become my child's advocate, because no one will ever love my child as much as I do and champion his brilliance, her aptitudes, whatever her unique things are. You as a parent have the opportunity to foster the greatest education you can get for your child. Thank you so much for having this time. Tyler, thanks so much. I really love, and I can't wait until you come tomorrow and work on your tiger some more.